The story of Newcastle's return to the Champions League.
Barton, look at Jose Enrique bombing forward. Bang goes!
As Newcastle returns to the Champions League after 20 years of being away from Europe's premier club competition, it is intriguing to know how they got back into it after an inspiring performance last season. Just 18 months after being destined for relegation, Eddie Howe's side now returns to the Champions League. Let's see how they managed such an incredible feat. Let's get started. The Eddie Howe appointment. Without a shadow of a doubt, a lot of credit for Newcastle's exceptional rise has to go to Eddie Howe. Initially considered to be the second choice behind Unai Emery to replace Steve Bruce, Eddie Howe was hired after an impressive presentation. While most fans would have taken escaping relegation as success in his first few months in charge, a respectable 11th place finish was a sign of things to come. The 4th place finish that followed came due to his exceptional coaching as well. A misfiring striker in Joelinton was turned into a Brazilian international. Sean Longstaff credited Howe for rejuvenating his career, and the likes of Willock found a new lease of life in the Premier League. His exceptional tactics helped players like Miguel Almiron rediscover their form and helped new signings fit in like a glove. When Newcastle ended up securing top 4, Eddie Howe himself admitted that they were ahead of schedule after having escaped relegation just one season back. Smart recruitment. A budget that would excite most clubs into spending heavily without direction and grabbing every market opportunity that arises, Newcastle stayed smart and went from strength to strength. The initial decision to buy Premier League proven players like Dan Burn, Kieran Trippier, and Chris Wood, followed up with the signing of exciting Lion midfielder Bruno Guimaraes. These signings helped a Newcastle team destined for the drop end the season at a respectable 11th place berth. The signing of Alexander Isak in the summer of 2022 was a masterstroke that created some very healthy competition with Callum Wilson. This summer, Newcastle added depth to their full-back slots, adding Tony Livramento and Lewis Hall to take over from Dan Burn in due course. Add to that the impressive Sandro Tonali in midfield and Harvey Barnes on the left wing, and they have a more than decent squad that they have created without breaking the bank. The League Cup failure. One major event last season for Newcastle was reaching the League Cup final. After all, the Geordies had not tasted domestic cup glory for well over 60 years. And as Newcastle reached the League Cup final, used an interesting tactic to motivate his players. He put a digital sign in the Newcastle dressing room before the League Cup final that read, "We have not won a domestic cup in 67 years." Unfortunately for Newcastle fans, the final in February did not go to plan as Man United won 2-0 at Wembley. Eddie Howe, instead of letting the disappointment get to his players, used it to motivate them to secure top 4. One pivotal moment in the top 4 race was when United came to St. James Park in April. Eddie Howe cunningly used a clip of Erik ten Hag's pre-match press conference at the end of March, when he said Newcastle are an annoying team to play against because they delay the game.
I think it's a great team, clear philosophy about they want to play the game, so it's the key word is intensity. So they do really well. It's an annoying team to play against, so we have to find a way to win them.
Motivated his players by saying, if they want a quick game coming here, let's freaking give it to them. Let's blow them away with our running. Let's be intense in every action that we do. Let's go. And the motivated Newcastle players beat United 2-0 in a truly passionate affair. Wins against Brighton, West Ham, and Tottenham followed as Newcastle clinched a top 4 spot due to the motivation from the League Cup disappointment. Credit has to go to Eddie Howe for getting the best scenario out of disappointment. Intensity is our identity. When Newcastle chairman Yasser Al-Rumayyan was asked why they chose Newcastle, he had a simple reply: "All of Newcastle supports you and its population is 950,000. All of them are fans. We now have around 52,000 seats in the stadium and all of them are sold out." Through thick and thin, the Geordies have always supported their club, and this passion for their football runs in their veins. Eddie Howe has also been crucial in instilling this passion in his squad. Matt Targett, who initially joined Newcastle on loan, recalls how he motivated his players. Before every meeting, as a key point, he says, "Our identity is intensity. Every day he instills that in us and it makes us improve." John Joe Shelby also recalled having to go to sleep at 8 p.m. after the intense training sessions when Eddie Howe first joined. Newcastle are at their best when they outrun their opponents and win their 50-50 SAS, and a player who embodies that spirit is Joelinton. No wonder he is the poster boy of this Newcastle revolution. A word of caution, Newcastle may as well be a victim of their own success. While most would have predicted them to get to the Europa League last season, getting to the Champions League was a tremendous success. But now, it's not just about the Premier League. It is about showing their class in a tough Champions League group. And with the power of expectations on Eddie Howe's side, the onus is on him to ensure qualification back into the Champions League. This surely would not be easy, with the likes of Liverpool and Tottenham getting back to their best to join the likes of United and Arsenal in the Champions League. Of just 5 losses at St. James under Howe, 3 have come against Liverpool and the others versus Manchester City and Arsenal. That tells its own story as Newcastle stumbles against the big boys. With 3 losses in 4 league games, they are off to a tough start with still a lot to work on against the big sides. His success sets the standards high for his side, and it is for Eddie Howe to prove that they can raise their game. If anything, Eddie Howe has proved that he does not back down from a challenge, so whatever happens, he and his players are going to put their bodies on the line to continue their extraordinary rise to the absolute top.